your mummy madness sensei and across from me.
I was kidding. The vicious scumbag.
And together we are Longturnlarry Podcast. And today we talking about a scarab boy.
The fist.
Have you ever seen the mummy? You know how scary scarabs can be.
Yes. Eat you to the bones.
Eat you to the bone. I don't even know that's real.
I mean, there are flesh-eating bugs that definitely do that, but like, that's movie. But, oh my goodness.
We got Hashaton, the scarab's fist. Probably the most sought-after commander in this entire Ether Drift set. And he's not even fast.
He's not. He doesn't even care about starting your engines.
Hashaton is a white-black for a zombie wizard 1/3. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 generic and a blue. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it is a 4/4 black zombie.
Beautiful.
Just a note, just in case, like, oh, what if it gets exiled? It doesn't matter. Hashaton just cares about it being discarded. Doesn't care if it's exiled on the way. Doesn't care about none of that. You can do this at instant speed.
Be prepared to break rules. Timing restrictions don't apply, especially when you're a zombie wizard.
But before we get into the details for this specific deck tech, I would like you to like, comment, and subscribe to the Longturnlarry channel so you get more long-term goodness.
That's right. We want you to become one of our Larrys. We love all of you equally and despise you at the same time.
First, let's get the boring stuff out the way. Let's talk about our ramp package. It's pretty simple. Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Soul Ring, all the elements that we are going to play. And then on top of that, we are in Esper colors. So we are going to play Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. He is going to make too much mana the entire game. We put him out on like turn 2 or turn 3. Now, let's get to the things that actually matter. We a discard deck, baby.
At the core.
Yeah, hey.
That's right.
We every girl fantasy. So there's about 3 cards that also fall into this ramp package as well, but they do discard. They are Lion's Diamond.
Diamond Lion.
Overeager Apprentice. And Scourge Familiar. Diamond Lion is the creature version of Lion's Eye Diamond because we can't afford that because that card's like $500.
It's like a bajillion bucks.
Yeah.
What?
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar.
So,
AKA Brokey.
Brokey. So you're going to have to wait a turn before you can use this.
It's not that big of a sacrifice. Get it? Huh?
I hate you so much. Overeager Apprentice doesn't cause us to discard our entire hand. We just need to discard a card, and then it makes black, black, black once you sacrifice it, which is the majority of the cost for us to bring something back. Well, not bring something back. We're not reanimating, but
Creating that token copy
creating
of it.
that token. And then Scourge Familiar. Man, such a great card. Not only is it good for giving us mana when we discard, but also once we get to a certain combo that we're playing into, this will allow us to play everything after we do the combo if you hit Scourge Familiar in the cards that you're looking for.
Also, the fact that Scourge is repeatable, doesn't have to die And it just is such a huge positive. Just getting flat out a black mana it's so good. Scourge Familiar is a goat.
Scourge Familiar is a goat. Now, do you want to take a look at some of our looters here?
Of course. So we're going to go over, I'm going to cover some of the creature variants of these. So we have Kitsa, Otterball Elite. For a generic and a blue, you get a legendary Otter Wizard, who is a 1/3 with vigilance and prowess. That's all great, but what's wonderful is we may tap it to draw a card, then discard a card. Larry's is, of course, what we reference when we say looting. You draw to then discard. And then underneath that, for 2 generic and a tap, you may copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only if its power is 3 or greater. Well, what's wonderful about this is if we discard it, and then we, of course, are going to use our wonderful commander's ability, this will come back as a 4/4 zombie. So that second effect will always go off. Next, we have Likeness Looter. This is just going to be a Dimir 1/1. So for a blue and a black, you get a fairy shapeshifter with flying. Of course, has our wonderful effect, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Then for X, you may have it become a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X, except it has flying in this ability. This can come in handy later, but it's just the fact it's a 2-drop that has that wonderful looting effect. We have Obsessive Stitcher, who is the same Dimir cost, but with a generic for 3, we have a 0/3 human wizard. We have that all too familiar tap and draw a card, then discard a card. You can tap and sacrifice her to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. She kind of does everything we want. We don't have any big complaints. And we have Vohar, Vodalian Desecrator. For blue-black, we get a legendary Phyrexian Merfolk Wizard 1/2.
Wow, that's definitely some typing there.
It has, of course, tap, draw a card, and discard a card, but we get more. If you were to discard an instant or sorcery card this way, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We then, of course, for 2 generic, can sacrifice the Desecrator, and then we can cast a target instant or sorcery spell from our graveyard this turn. If it would be put into our graveyard, exile it instead.
Okay, so our free discards, the ones that don't loot, we have a couple of them. The first one is going to be Psychic Frog.
Hypnotoad.
Obey. This one, when it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, we're going to draw a card. We can discard a card and put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then we can exile 3 cards from our graveyard and give it flying. This will rarely come up. But really, we're in it for the card draw that it can get and the discard outlet. The same thing sort of goes for Ghostly Pilferer. We can discard a card. It can be unblocked. Whenever it's untapped, we may pay 2. If we do, we draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere outside of their hand, we will also draw a card. Putrid Imp and Tireless Tribe, they are our 1-drop, so we can put these out before our commander comes out, and then we'll be ready and set on turn 3 to reanimate. The effect that we get for discarding, not really that great, but they're here just to be outlets. And the best discard outlet that we have is Tortured Existence.
Oh, let me go. Let me die.
No, you're coming back to my hand, son. So for a black is an enchantment. And then for black, choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So what this allows us to do is not only dump stuff into our graveyard, we can bring back things that we want to get more copies of. Typically, these are the things that aren't legendary that we want to get multiple copies of over and over and over and over and over.
Now, we wouldn't be complete without our final discard card, which is the actual instant version. The bulk of these are on bodies. We have Frantic Search for 2 generic and a blue. You have an instant that states draw 2, then discard 2. and then untap 3 lands. This is going to pay for itself. This is a little bit more in depth with the fact that it's 2 for 2 instead of 1 for 1, but it's still going to fit into that wonderful looter category.
We got some big boys to copy.
Big boy.
Big boys. First, let's start off with the All-Star Archfiend of Ifnir. These converted mana costs do not matter to us because we rarely want to ever cast these for their full cost.
We're going to discard them and make a copy for 3.
So, Archfiend of Ifnir can cycle. So even if we don't have a discard outlet, it's got one to staple to it. So essentially for 5 generic and a blue, we can put this out as a 4/4. So we would get to draw a card and put it out onto the battlefield as a 4/4 zombie tapped. But it says whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. We will clear boards with Archfiend of Ifnir.
Also, too, Archfiend is like Massacre Girl, but we're loving the fact that it's one-sided. We don't want our stuff to die.
On that same tip, Elish Norn Grand Cenobite.
OG mommy.
OG White Mommy. Vigilance reduces their creatures by -2/-2. Buffs our creatures +2/+2. We're just trying to annoy our opponents greatly.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of all of their utility creatures most of the time and also stop, small boards. So Elish Norn is anti-token and gets rid of a lot of utility creatures. So no, she's very, very annoying. On that same one, if we're going to annoy them, then we got to do it right. If we're going to bring in one Praetor, why not a blue one? We have Jin Cataxis, and it's not one of the puny flip ones. It's the OG for 10, but we're paying 3. Flash at the beginning of your end step, draw 7, thank you, and then each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. Remember, Larry's, this would have been 10, and no, we'll do it for 3.
For 3!
And another big nasty. We have the Hull Breaker Horror. We couldn't go without, including some good old-fashioned, when you cast something, boop it back to their hand. Of course, this is a 7-drop that we're getting for 3. Again, this is a flash, can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, either return a spell you don't control or a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you're unfamiliar with Hull Breaker, welcome to making your friends mad.
So the rest of these typically draw us cards in some type of form or fashion. Marnia's Calgar literally does that every time we activate this effect, because remember, these are tokens come into play. So we're going to draw a card, and then if we really need to, we can pump mana into his effect to make 2/2 Astartes. Archon of Cruelty hates one person and one specific person. Yeah. We're going to make them sacrifice a creature, discard a card, and lose 3 life, and we're going to gain all of those.
So tasty.
So tasty. Nezahal is Risk Study, but on a fish.
It's a big fish.
Overlord of the Flood Pits is the cheapest Overlord, and that's why we're playing it.
Hey, and it fits right in, too.
Yep, it pseudo loots. We draw 2 cards and we discard a card, so we can set up for more discarding if we were to make a copy of it. Sire of Stagnation is so rude. Ruin your favorite green player's plan just immediately. As soon as they cast that rampant growth, nah, son.
It's a fun game called Don't Ramp or Get Lands Out, because I love the top 2 cards of your library.
And then I'm going to draw 2 cards for free. RuneScar Demon sets up for other shenanigans in its toolbox. So any scenario that we need to deal with, we can go and find the perfect big boy for the scenario. Tivit, what doesn't Tivit do? It gives us treasures. It gives us clues. When it enters the battlefield and when it attacks, it's just a beautiful card. And finally, Sun Titan's here because if we're going to, sometimes we're not going to have hits for a salute. So sometimes we're going to loot away some lands.
Yeah.
Sun Titan will get us those lands back, give us some of our looters back so we can keep this value train going and going and going.
Yeah, Sun Titan is an unspoken but well-known, recursion god. It's just the fact that, enders and attacks, I love when they have, both of them on there, But no, Sun Titan's going to help get back a lot of our lands mainly too. Don't get me wrong, a lot of our discard feeding boys were 2 and under, a good amount of them. So it's going to cover a good basis.
And finally, let's get to the Longturnlarrys. These are the cards that are going to warp the game into your favor.
Please make it end.
The first one is going to be Esper Sentinel. Yes, Esper Sentinel is here is because we can make this a 4/4 zombie. You think they're going to pay for that first card?
They might pay the 1, they ain't paying 4.
They're not paying 4.
Oh, man. We also have Polywog Prodigy. A very similar concept here. So it is a generic in a blue for a 1/3 frog wizard. So good. And it has evolve. Whenever a creature you control enters, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then whenever an opponent casts a spell, a non-creature, then if it has a mana value less than Polywog's power, draw a card. But we're going to bring this back, of course, as a 4/4. So, of course, that evolve is kind of getting a little bit of a head start to make this even harder for them to not allow us to get that card draw.
This card, I've loved this card for a long time. It's never loved me back.
It did, in its own way.
Back when we were playing Commander in the beginning days, it was okay, and it's fallen off really hard. Shieldred the Whispering One. In this deck, it's actually like really good because the bad part of Shieldred is that like you have to cast her for 7 mana first.
Yep.
And then you have to wait before you get that reanimate. And that's the real reason why you're playing her.
Yeah, the sacrifice trigger is good and it is powerful, but she's way too much mana for that combined effort. I think she could have been cheaper.
And then like, or probably if it happened at your end step, if you reanimate at your end step, say your upkeep, Children would be a better card, but we get around having to wait by doing it at somebody's end step, and then we can automatically get that reanimation.
Yeah, like womp womp, she loses 2 power and toughness. Who cares? You just got a 7-drop for 3 on someone else's turn before yours, and now you get to recur, and you could in theory recur the Shieldred and then put the real one out. If you really felt like
if
it.
they ever blow up the fake Shieldred,
we
could just always just later reanimate the real Shieldred.
Yeah, it's just we're getting around some of her like dang, like because honestly, if she was 3 mana, holy crap, I could imagine how overpowered. Oh, we have to speak about just nonsense when it comes to bringing in cards. You brought up Shieldred. I have to bring up Nesting Dovehawk. This is one of those cards to where, like, yes, it's like $15, but it's one of those when it fits and it fits well. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Agreed. It's perfect.
This is making your money worth.
Yes, it is. For 3 generic and a white, so it's not even expensive. You get a bird 2/2 with flying. It states at the beginning of a combat on your turn, populate. Populate is creating a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. Well, everything that we discard and make into a zombie is a token. So nesting, without even continuing, just says, hey, at the beginning of combat, make a copy of something you've already made a zombie out of. And then it states whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on nesting Dovehawk. So what's hilarious is this thing helps us out so much. And then it gets huge without even really needing to be. And then it's just like, hey, you have a free giant flyer. I mean, there's no downside to this. And when you bring it back, if it does die, it comes back as a 4/4. Nesting is just good.
We're not bringing it back. We're discarding it.
But you get what I'm saying. The copy, the discarded copy.
If we make a copy of this,
it's already bigger.
It just makes, we go to a combat and then we get another copy of this.
It's so good. Nesting is just all around just incredible.
This card typically is the card that people confuse the most. Sphinx is the second son. It is worded terribly.
Poor wizards. Sometimes you guys write out cards in a really bad way.
You tried.
You tried.
You tried. Have you ever had multiple copies of this out at the same time?
I've seen. I've not had.
Things sort of get bananas, especially when you have cards that tap to loot, and then you get to untap all your looters and untap all your mana. So you could just be in like a loop of just like, all right, I'm untapping all my mana, untapping all my creatures. All right, discard. I have 6 mana. All right, I'm gonna make some copies of some stuff. Wait, I have 2 copies of Sphinx. Now I get to untap for free and get to hold up all my other shenanigans. So you're essentially getting like a mana doubler and a card draw for like 3 mana.
Yeah. It's like you got a it's almost like a Seedborn. It's like, here, get no, what is it? Wilderness Reclamation. Isn't it Wilderness Rec?
Yeah.
It gives you 1. So it's like, here's a Wilderness Rec and an extra card draw. And a 6/6 flyer. Like, that's nothing to shake a stick at. A 3-drop 6/6? That if we didn't have any other text, it'd still be good. Well, it'd be a 4/4 when you brought it back. But still, a 3-drop 4/4 flyer is still great.
Hey, I could do you one better. What about a 3-drop 7/7 that makes an army?
Oh, no.
This is a card I didn't see anywhere else. Nobody had discovered this tech.
Ooh, this is a long-term exclusive.
This is a long-term exclusive. 3-fold Thunder Hulk. It states that whenever it enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it, whenever 3-fold Thunder Hulk enters the battlefield or attacks, create a number of colorless gnome artifact creature tokens equal to its power. And then for 2 generic, you could sacrifice the artifact and put a +1/+1 counter on 3-fold Thunder Hulk. Typically, this is a 3/3, and then you make 3 little token boys.
Which, I mean, honestly isn't horrible, because we all know that, this is kind of a next time it swings, and then you eat them, and the next time it swings, like that's like the whole concept. But not for this deck.
Not for this guy. He's going to enter as a 7/7, and he's going to make 7 gnomes.
Yeah, this actually makes him like really mana efficient. Like really
Extremely mana efficient. Like,
yeah.
This card by itself can take over games.
Yeah, that's 7 mana that you actually spent 3.
And you got 14
and you got
power.
14 power. 14 power that had an effect to get pumped. Could be higher.
Crazy.
Yeah, no. 3-fold Thunder Hulk, you are awesome. I'm so grateful that you're not a vehicle. I'm happy that you are just like a thing.
And, most of these, when you activate the ability to discard them, you can't block with any of these creatures. Thunder Hulk, it enters tap, but those gnomes don't.
Oh.
So you instantly have like a crazy amount of blockers.
Oh yeah, because our commander makes a tapped version, but then at least the subset, the rest that are coming with are beautiful. Now, Larry's, We're talking a lot about all these things are going to be zombies in addition to their other types. So I know you're thinking, where is it? Where's that zombie lord? Where are they? Well, we only have one technically, and it's very good for what it's here for. It's just kind of a bonus that everything's a zombie, so this kind of can blanket help us. We have Gleaming Overseer. Ooh. I know he's so pretty. For a generic blue-black, we have a 1/4 zombie wizard. And it states that whenever this creature enters, amass zombies 1. That's great. We make a little zombie army. But what we really care about is zombie tokens you control have hexproof and menace. The menace part is just like a cherry on the top. It's just the fact that this is going to give everything we're making a token copy of, because it will become a zombie in addition to its other types. It's just, we're getting hexproof. It's wonderful. And then all those other things that were slippery and hard to deal with or large just naturally have Menace. Thank you, Gleaming Overseer, for holding our Lord Zombie position in this deck.
And this is probably like the third time we've had this specific combo in a deck. But like, we are a discard deck. We are a pseudo reanimator deck.
Yes.
So if you have the ability to just...
It's 4 cards.
3 mana. It's really like 1 card.
Yes.
It's really like a 1 card combo. And it's just like, if you have the ability to do it, why wouldn't you? So, of course, we have the Hoarding Broodlord Peer into the Abyss combo. I'll explain it if this is the first time you've seen it. You cast or you discard Hoarding Broodlord. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a card in your library, exile it face down, then shuffle. You may play the card as long as it remains exiled. And then it states that spells you control, spells that you cast from exile have Convoke.
Yep.
So to get this started, you just need a discard outlet, Hoarding Broodlord, and about 2 mana or 2 creatures that you can tap. Hoarding Broodlord goes and gets your Saw in Half. Part of the paying for it will be tapping the Hoarding Broodlord. Not so if you use Hashaton's ability, because it will be tapped.
Yes.
So you might need...
Yes, you can't use Hashatons to make this like a little faster, because the tapped version makes the Convoke
You're
not go
just
off.
going to need like specifically 3 mana to do it.
You just need 3 mana and Hoarding Broodlord. That's it.
You're going to saw it in half. The 2 things that you're going to get from your 2 sawed in half Hoarding Broodlords are going to be Sacrifice and Peer into Abyss. Sacrifice allows you to sacrifice a creature and get black mana equal to its converted mana cost. Hoarding Broodlord is 8. And then Peer to the Abyss is 7 mana. Cast Peer into the Abyss. Oh, look, I have half my deck into my hand. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, not a guaranteed win, but I mean, come on. You have every answer you could look for, and we're already showing you that you can generate mana and do a lot of these things on other people's turns. So you have to imagine there's a lot that we're doing that's not even on our turn.
Yeah, you can do this at instant speed, untap. Even if you don't do it at instant speed, like if you have to discard some of these cards, we're discarding these cards.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Excellent. So we do have a small reanimation package.
We wouldn't be a classic Esper zombie recursion thing if we didn't have some type of reanimators.
We have 3 creatures that reanimate: Karmic Guide, Sister Hospitalizer,
Hospitaler?
Hospitaler? I've never seen that word before. And Metamorphosis Fanatic. They all essentially going to do the same thing for us. Which is funny. They sort of like chain together because if you discard it, it goes to the graveyard. You activate his ability. You bring back the original that you discarded. And then you go get the real thing that you were trying to get.
You're like, hey, I need you to make a shadow clone that's going to see me die. So he'll resurrect me so that I can bring back shadow clones that'll see my friends die.
This sounds like Madara's plan in Naruto Shippuden.
This is 100% his plan put into a magic deck.
Of course, we're playing Animate Dead, Necromancy, and Reanimate.
The technically we all do the same thing, but we all have different wordings that do the same thing.
And you know me, this pseudo board wipe / I got more stuff in the graveyard than you. Living Death.
It's his baby.
It's my baby. If you're playing a graveyard strategy, just play Living Death. It wins you more games than it doesn't.
There are the rare occasion that somebody else might benefit from it, but most of the time they're like, ugh, and that's just
you're going to benefit way more than they are most of the time.
Now, we are in the wonderful colors of I don't like that, and I don't like that you're trying to do it. So our removal package is decent because, you know, we're going to be doing some shenanigans, and we're going to make sure they can't get at us multiple times.
Right, because most of the things that we are doing can be done at instant speed.
That's right.
So why wouldn't we just hold up removal? Hey, you pull out some blickies. I got that blah blah.
That's right. We keep the heaters on quick release just in case we need it. We're going to run the good ones here. We got an offer you can't refuse. You better take this treasure. Arcane Denial. You better take these draws.
Daddy, chill.
Dovin's Veto. That is, you can't stop me, but I don't like what you're doing. Do not use Dovin's defensively. It is meant to interrupt them, and they can't stop you. And then we have Negate, which is, of course, just the classic 2-drop non-creature spell.
Stop that.
I don't like that. Of course, we're going to be holding these up for them trying to stop our things. Board wipes aren't that scary to a deck that likes things either being put away, recurred, or if they're already dead, who cares?
And then our sneaky looter counterspell, 3 steps ahead.
Yep.
Counter spells can create a token of a artifact or creature we control, and then draws 2 cards and then discard a card. Like,
it's all of it.
I know it's expensive, but like it literally does everything we want to do.
Sprees can also be mana intensive, but again, it does everything. So I'm not that upset by it.
I'm not that mad. No. We have some blanket. I don't like that permanent. Get it out of here.
You see that thing over there? Yeah, remove it.
Anguish Unmaking. Get it out of here. Stroke of Midnight. Get it out of here. Mm-hmm. Voiderin. Boy, you thought.
Yeah, you thought it could survive.
Get it out of here.
We wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile. Of course, we have to give him some kind of benefit for it being a 1-drop.
And then finally, Infernal Grasp was the best single target black spell that you can play.
And then, of course, we have a couple of, MDFCs. MDFCs. Larry's, forgive me. I can never remember the acronym for a card that is a land and or something else. So, of course, we're rocking Witch Enchanter, which is the white equivalent to destroy artifacts and enchantments.
Fel the Profane just says, eh.
Fel the Profane just says, not that thing or that Planeswalker. Sorry, Teferi.
And Bogart Trawler, not Traveler.
He be traveling.
Exiles a graveyard because, you know, sometimes we be fighting against our own.
That's right. It's your own people that do you in.
It be your own people sometimes.
And then last but not least, in the MDFCs, Sink into Stupor. This one's just going to be a return, either a spell, so it could in theory be like counter magic. It also allows you to have a non-land bounced We just like this thing for what it's going to provide for us. It's just most of the time it's a land if you're down bad. Otherwise, you might have a bounce spell.
We are playing Hour of Reckoning, so almost a
one-sided
yeah. board wipe.
It's a air quotes one-sided because our stuff will be zombie tokens.
And then
damn,
single target or board wipe. We don't really care about board wiping that much. Our board is precious to us, so we're only running the 2.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you're salty and you're feeling behind, you take out that board. You hear me?
Yeah, you slapped him in the face.
That's right.
That's the deck tech, man. Hashaton, Mr. Potato Head.
That's right. He be smoking a Hashaton. That's right. The Scarab's Fist is looking like he's going to be a powerhouse. Wizards, you forgot to put at sorcery speed or once a turn. You forgot.
Right. And like this thing like scales up like infinitely. Like if you want to make this like super CEDH try hard, you can have like split second. You could go grab you a Lion's Eye Diamond.
I was about to say the real Lion's Eye. It's just the fact that it doesn't care about the timing. It doesn't care. The only thing it cares about is it's a creature. That's it. I mean, the fact that that's all it cares about. No, Hashaton is very powerful. And it's a 2-drop 1/3. So it's like a decent sized booty and it's low.
What more can you want? But that will be the end of this deck tech. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Do us a favor while we bring you this excellent content. I am your honorable sensei, and across from me,
the vicious scumbag.
And together we are Longturnlarry Podcast. Scarab.